And we record it so that other people who missed out on the night, they get to watch it. All right. Welcome to the Shop Class Podcast. Mr. G, we got a whole bunch of people in the house. We got our regulars. We got Timmy's here, Duke's here, and OG Barbacek. Barbacek is one of the original co-hosts. Tonight's guest is Forrest Koogle. He's coming to us from Northern California. His house is not on fire, luckily, but he's got an amazing business where he uses his creativity and his craftsmanship to come up with aftermarket parts for the BMWs of yesteryear to keep that excitement, classic cars alive. Let me just first start out by giving people a little visual. This is his Instagram page, and we'll go through it. Here it is right here, doing machine work, doing custom body work. There's all kinds of solutions that make the cars better. So we're going to talk about that. Forrest, how did you get started doing this? Well, let me ask the most important question. Did you have shop class growing up?
Unfortunately, I did not, but I did have a lot of influence from different mentors and teachers along the way. And in fact, my father, who is a talented carpenter, woodworker, craftsman, he taught high school wood shop class in the small town where I grew up. And he retired from that by the time I ended up in high school. And by the time I ended up in high school, they had scrapped a lot of those programs for computer programs. When I was in high school, there was video production and electronics lab, and there was no real hands-on. At that point, the bandsaw was like everyone was afraid of it. Whatever OSHA got involved, and they crushed a lot of that stuff in the 90s, I guess.
Yep.
So I did have a lot of people around me who were building stuff, making stuff, and that was an influence. But through junior high school, I didn't have anything within the school curriculum that was like what you guys were doing.
It's kind of funny. This is full circle here. You're a craftsman and you're on the Shop Class Podcast show, and your dad was a shop teacher.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank your dad for his service, if he's still around. And that's pretty amazing. So now, what an amazing thing that your dad was a shop teacher. That's incredible. Now, and what happened to me was the same thing. They had no shop class when I was growing up. I don't know if you can hear the thunder, but it's going by me. But anyway, it's amazing because shop class was like, kryptonite, or it was like radiation. You don't want to touch it. You can't even look at it. They didn't even close the shops. They had to get rid of everything.
Wow.
It was just like such an this is kind of what we're doing. It's the reason we have this show, is because we're trying to spread the message that shop class has all these benefits, but also that if you're working in a shop class as a teacher, you're usually working on an island, by yourself. I mean, you might have one or two other people in your department, but if you want to share ideas, you got to talk to shop teachers from other cities and other states. We even have a guy on here from Australia sometimes. And then we love to have guests like you who have applied what they learned, and we could learn from you and see what the current situation is. Cool.
I love it.
So how did you get involved with making parts for classic BMWs?
Well, again, kind of starting at the beginning, I grew up in a small town, and there really was no public transportation options, and you could kind of see the paths that people would go down. This Northern California in the 90s, and your options was either, to just stay in this little podunk town with no higher education, end up, growing pot and hiding out in your shed in the woods. I saw the automobile as like my ticket out of town. And so didn't have a lot of money, was motivated to, hey, I can get this funky old Toyota truck, fix it up, and then I can drive all the way down to San Francisco and go skateboard. So I started skateboarding real young, again, kind of tying into what I'm still doing now. And I wanted to go to where there was higher education, kind of more of a diverse, options and stuff like that. So I got into cars. First job was at a gas station back when they had full service.
Wait,
stations.
before you get into that, I just have to show people. I just can't even believe that your shop has a skate ramp on the premise. This is unbelievable to me. That's amazing. That's awesome. And I agree. Cars are kind of a ticket out for a lot of people. For me, it was a ticket out. I grew up in suburbs and there was like nothing, literally like, I don't know, there was nothing going on. And I saw pictures of cars on the Trapper Keeper, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah. Porsche Turbo or Lamborghini Countach.
Yes, the Countach.
Yeah.
And there was a junkyard one town over. I used to ride my bike over there, and I would draw pictures of the cars because I couldn't afford to buy anything, or it just wasn't. I didn't even know how. I didn't even know what I was supposed to do with all that stuff. But it was that drew me. That's kind of like a guiding light. Is the vehicles are exciting. So I can relate. 100% relate.
Yeah, and I think like for kids, the idea of building a house or learning to program CNC machine, it's so kind of far away from their reality and something tangible. Like I was into car stereos that were loud and had bass or something. So that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to troubleshoot why the carburetor wasn't working. I wanted to cut the springs and do cool guy stuff. And I am still, I'm making up for all my automotive sins of, modifying in less than tasteful ways, the mini truck era of the 90s.
Okay. Yeah. Lowering the Ford Rangers and the, what's the other, the Toyota.
Toyotas.
Yep. And then also some Nissans, right? They had and the Datsun.
I was a big Datsun fan.
Oh, cool.
A lot of 510s.
Wow, I don't know if you guys heard that. That was some big lightning and thunder. And also, I'm sure you're a fan of 3D Magic Mike. He does that Datsun that's all souped up.
For sure. Yeah, it's wild to see how he's taken 3D scanning and printing and slicing his prints to make, composite larger prints, and then using those to create plugs to make carbon fiber molds that he's then vacuum bagging to create really good carbon parts.
That is cool. So now what are you doing? Like, how did you go from an interest in customizing cars? What was the next part of the story, basically, is you're going to talk about the beginning of your business?
Yeah, we can kind of abbreviate the path, but it was not linear. But I basically kind of stepped my way through every automotive aftermarket realm, from working at a dealership doing, tires and brakes to working at car stereo shops.
The Datsun.
Yeah.
This thing was such a cool build to watch. And like the details are crazy what he's done.
His weird rear mounted twin turbos and stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. We got to show that real quick. Oh my God. This is how it started. Jeez.
Well, and he's a CAD designer for the Roadster shop chassis.
Yes. Right.
So that gives you an idea of the level that his, kind of day job is.
What are these? The brake cylinders?
Yeah. In order to have the room, he moved everything from the firewall forward.
Why is there 4 of them?
Probably he's got a hydraulic handbrake, and
Oh, wow.
everything's all separated.
Oh my God, that's wild. That is like beyond custom. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like, yeah, this is unbelievable what he's done. Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to show that if anybody hasn't seen, it's pretty amazing. He uses the, like you said, the scanning and whatnot.
So, yeah, basically from car stereo shops and then kind of custom hot rod shops, I was just always working with the tools that I had. So at a car stereo shop, you have a crude set of woodworking tools and some table routers and stuff, and handheld routers, table saw, etc. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if we could make a metal frame and weld it. Well, we can't afford a welder, so I bought one off the Snap-on truck on payments and taught myself to do it. And then that kind of dovetailed into doing custom interiors. You know, bought a sewing machine, figure out how to sew. I realized that I wanted to kind of slowly master all these, and master loosely because I'm jack of all trades, but really master of none. Automotive upholstery, learning the machine shop element of things, and the fabrication of chassis and suspension components. And it kind of had me hopping from shop to shop, a hot rod shop here, a custom shop there, upholstery shop. And then it got to a point where I landed it at a Porsche shop, doing a lot of like race modification preparation stuff. And I wasn't really happy there. I was basically a mechanic, a glorified mechanic. And that ended up like, hey, I don't need to be here doing other people's bidding. I can kind of do this more creative stuff. And that's how I ended up with doing the BMW stuff. Made a few parts for customers. And then it was like, wow, if 2 people want this, maybe 3 people want this, maybe I'll post more photos up on Instagram. And Instagram was a great kind of snowball effect where as I gained followers and people in the community started going, oh, this guy's making this cool stuff. It motivated me to go, well, I should just make a website and start selling the stuff at some larger scale.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And here's my main man. Pierre is going to pop his head in here.
Yeah, come on in.
Pierre is a young gentleman who has come up.
Howdy, y'all.
The ranks.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
With myself, and we met through our skateboarding connection. And I realized that the passion of skateboarding really translates well, believe it or not, to learning craftsmanship. You try really hard, beat yourself up, fail a lot, and it teaches like to persevere, and it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. You know, I got on a skateboard for maybe the second time in my life. I'm 43 and I busted my ass, but I had a great time. You know, I don't know what I'm doing. I went down a hill and I think the bearings and the wheel were the wrong size for the gravel, I guess, consistency or whatever. It held me back and I just went, you know, but I snowboard and whatnot. But I know what you're saying. Like, you know, you can instantly connect with someone who is either modifying their deck or that, you know, I got a lot of kids in my class that they talk to me about making their own trucks. So we do a lot of 3D stuff. We'll put the trucks into 3D and they'll modify them and stuff.
Do you follow Professor Schmidt of PS Sticks and his Create Escape program?
No, let me see.
I think that's what his Instagram handle is. He's the founder of Schmidt Sticks Skateboards.
Okay.
And is an inventor and manufacturer of many different skateboard innovations through the 1980s. And he has a factory now in Mexico, but is
there we go.
Amazing guy. It goes around to shop classes. He can set up a kit and send it to you with a bunch of blank skate decks and templates to have the kids cut out and do graphics for. And it's a really good program. And I think that he donates a lot of the stuff. So it's worth checking out if any of the shop class teachers are interested.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for letting me know about this.
Hashtag Create a Skate, I think is what his
Here we go.
little program is called.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. He's got templates. Those are good. He's got, he's talking about decimal places. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. And then look at this. Oh, look at it. No expectations. That's cool. That's good. Have you guys heard of this, Tim? Duke?
Sorry, I was on his Instagram looking at pictures.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
I'd never heard of him either.
That's great.
There's that one company, Roar Rocket, and that's the same. It's similar to. They come in like kits with like your molds, and then like your vacuum forming bag.
Oh yeah.
And the kids could design their own skateboard. It comes in different styles, like pre-cut, but then you can also order in bulk, I guess. But then they have different styles.
Weren't we looking at that? Weren't we looking at the last
Yeah,
week?
just last week.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, this is great. I love seeing this stuff. It's always good when someone comes up with like something like an exciting kit specifically designed for the shop class. A lot of the shop class teachers, really, when you look at the catalog, all you really get is like toy quality or industrial quality. And there's very few kits that are like designed with enthusiasm and quality at the same time.
Yeah, ready to go right out of the box.
Yeah, and they understand how hard it is to be a shop teacher, that you don't got much time. So you really need something that's good right away, Here's the rocket thing.
Yeah, I want to try that. I want to try these skateboards.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that, like you always said, you don't ask, and then you ask for forgiveness. Don't ask for permission. So I'm afraid that I start making skateboards, and next thing you know, I'm getting like wheeled into the office. So.
No, just do it. Absolutely.
For what? Like rider safety?
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. It's I don't know if you
get hit by an 80-mile-an-hour baseball too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. You can play football.
Yeah, you can break your neck playing football.
Yeah, but you can't run a table saw. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, like so we were making one day we were making full-size bats, and then I got in trouble for that. Yeah.
Tim does a lot of go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say you can't make a baseball bat, but I could tell a kid to bring in a piece of teak, and that's 6 foot long by 2 feet, or 2 inches wide, and they can carry that around the school all day, but they can't make a baseball bat. So it's administrators being administrators.
Yeah, the rules are a little backwards. Well, that said, TSA will let you take a skateboard on a plane on your carry-on luggage, and it's a 3-foot stick that's got big chunks of metal bolted to both sides. It's like, okay, I'll go for that, but that's you can't bring a pair of tweezers,
right? Or a knitting needle, right?
Yeah, George Carlin used to do jokes about this, and Michael Moore did a whole bunch of jokes. You could take like a weed whacker on board, but you can't take whatever your lighter or something like that. I don't know. It's crazy. This is the type of stuff Tim does with these turnings.
Yeah.
What do you call it when you put the multiple different types of wood in there? Timmy?
That's cherry and maple and a young lady.
What do you call it when you combine them?
Oh, that's a laminated lathe turning.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I see a lot of people doing recycled skateboard decks that have dyed laminates and gluing them together, laminating multiples and turning them to make some kind of cool, widgets and whatnot, shift knobs, whatever. But there's a whole industry of people doing that, and people that dig the fact that it's recycled material.
Yeah, that's hard for where I'm at. It's hard to come by those skateboards and stuff. Like, it's hard to come by skateboards and things, things like that in bulk. You can get one-offs and this and that, but to get bulk of them, it's hard.
Tim, you're kind of in the country, right? Or no?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
If you have a local skateboard shop, they quite often will have a bucket in the back that are discarded boards that are used. They're perfectly good. They're just a little bit soggy on the edges, but have good wood through the center and may not be broken completely into bits. And they'd probably give them away if you said, hey, I'm doing this project. Can you stack them up for me? I'll come pick them up. I just gave away 20 boards to a friend that's going to paint the bottoms of them that are used.
Yeah, we don't have any skateboard shops around here.
Darn.
Tim, there is.
Where?
There is a nice skateboard park right across from Bethlehem Steel, the steel stacks.
There is one there across from the casino.
East Coast.
Yep.
Yeah.
So talk to those kids. Maybe they'll put you in the direction of a shop.
Forrest, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, here we go.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
you were just over there today, dude.
Yeah,
those
like
are temporary ramps. Pierre and I made those ramps in 2 days, and then we loaded them all on a flatbed truck and drove them 9 hours to Southern California to the roof of the Peterson Automotive Museum.
No way.
Set them all up to do this Radwood 1980s and 90s automotive show with a couple other skate professionals that showed up to do a demonstration with the ramps that we built. And that was a pretty cool collaboration.
I don't know if people know, but this is the big time auto museum in LA. And it's like the cars you see there are ridiculous. You'll see like a 1957 Ferrari Testarossa that's worth $30 million or whatever. Let's see. Is that still? Do they have the that exhibit going or no?
It was just a one-time, one-day deal, and they packed the place with the whole rooftop and the whole parking garage was all, enthusiasts that have these, restored and modified or completely stock 1980s and 90s era stuff. And then people like my wife was, wearing some really horrible looking, overalls and roller blades and had her hair teased up and, people in day glow outfits with Oakley blades and
that's awesome.
All the gear, the 80s gear.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Fun.
That must have been a blast. Wow. It's amazing. I mean, I do the snowboarding, but I would not have that kind of control to skateboard inside on a ramp. You'd see blood everywhere.
I wouldn't be doing it if I hadn't been doing it for almost 40 years now. So
yeah,
it's just muscle memory at this point.
Oh man, you are an inspiration to all of us. Stay young and do what you love, right? That's awesome. So just to go back to your story there. So you were getting into you got onto the Instagram, which the Instagram is like an underrated for craftsmanship. It's unbelievable.
It really helped us to develop a following and be able to showcase what we were doing. And I had no idea, that it would snowball like it did. But early on, we also, we did a bunch of in-person stuff. We went to all the shows. The first one we did, it was like Pierre and I packed this little BMW station wagon that I had. We put a display on the roof rack with a bunch of the aluminum air dams that we make and a few other little widgets and, showed up at the little swap and show and put stuff out on the lawn and, got some exposure that way. and then we did a bunch of other events pre-COVID. But at this point, it's like there's events going on right now, and we're going to show up with the cars that have our parts on it, but it doesn't make sense for the business model to have a big display and try to sell stuff out of the back of the van.
Oh, so you became more efficient by using the internet and some local exposure. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah. To try to do in-person events and set up for that and have like stock on hand to, sell it made sense in the beginning, and we quickly outgrew it. And now that we're kind of more of a household name for the BMW community, if somebody wants something, they can just go on the website and buy it, and we send it.
Oh, wow. Now, let me just jump around a little. Also, let me introduce you to Damien. Damien's coming to us from Australia. It's daytime. And he's a shop teacher.
Yeah,
it's the day ahead.
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
That's right. Coming from the future.
Yeah.
It's bleak.
Has Bitcoin gone up?
Yeah, how do you trade stocks? That's so funny. But Damien's now, what part of Australia again? It's not by Sydney, right?
Yeah, west of Sydney.
West of Sydney. Okay, all right. And what's great is that, think about the perspective we get when we talk to him about what's going on. He tells us his program, and we get to compare it to ours. So it's pretty cool. But also what's happening with COVID. He can tell us the future, Actually, they're locking down still, right?
It's getting worse.
Oh, geez.
It's actually there's some rural centres that have just locked down for a week because they've started finding it out there. It's spreading from Sydney.
Wow.
And while there was 8 government areas within Sydney that were locked down, like where my school is, and it's slowly spreading west towards the mountains where I am. So we don't think we're going to go back to school this term. We've still got 5 weeks to go.
Oh my
I think this
God.
this is week 5, yeah. So year 12 is going to graduate without being back at school.
Yeah. So how does remote shop class work? You guys sending curriculum home to kids? You doing Zoom meetings?
I've asked my kids if they want to do Zoom, and you don't get much of a response, and you can't do it with one kid. Yeah. So it's like most of the time I sort of type in stuff into Google Classroom, and 1 or 2 kids might answer. Some will say they're going fine with their work, and then you say, okay, who needs some help? Like I did yesterday, I said, who needs some help with the work they're doing now? And one of my students said, yeah, I do, sir. And I said, okay, what sort of help do you need? No response.
Yeah.
If I made a video explaining stuff, would that help? No response.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
What I did,
most of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, the government's put in a program to try and get all of the year 12 students vaccinated so that they can be safe coming up to the final exams, which start in October. So I got my second Pfizer jab yesterday. No, day before.
Nice.
And I think they've gone through getting about, what day is it? Thursday. So they've probably done about somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000 year 12 kids from around Sydney.
Yeah, it's very difficult to, make like as if, things are normal when you're doing the COVID thing. What I had to do was pivot. So I did mostly CAD during the time we were holding. And what's great is that they got the new programs. You might be interested in this, is Onshape. And Onshape's like SolidWorks, but with web-based. So it's just loading right now. But we did a Shell Eco Marathon car, which is like one of those basically like a cockroach with 3 wheels bicycle thing. Mm-hmm. And the kids did great. They designed this from scratch. So you got multiple kids working on the same project. Don't get me wrong, it never is going to replace hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, and if it, you know, not everybody could pivot like this. It doesn't work for everybody. So let me rotate around kind of with this thing, you know, and they don't really quite get it. Like, look at this connection right here. You know, you know what I mean? So it's like they don't quite get it. But the kid who did the body, he got it, and he was able to do this. This actually moves. If I can get it to work, there we go. He had air shocks, bring it down, and it fits. And then you can bring it back up. He had a hinge in place. I'll zoom in on that. You know, but it doesn't always work out like this. See there, and he's got all his pieces, and he was able to download stuff from McMaster Car, which was cool, which gives you some.
Oh yeah,
yep.
We do that in our practical application of designing assemblies, and then, you know, quite literally order that bolt, and we know it goes in at that depth with that, you know, clearance. It's beautiful.
Exactly. So it's doable, but it's not. And he's missing the bolts, but he's got it in place, you know. And he's got some weird things, like it pops through the sheet metal here, you know. And then we got some of the things that make it function are here. But that's doable for a little while, but you do need them to come in. So if they cancel school for us in New Jersey, I'm back to CAD, you know. So anyway, that's kind of what happens. And you can also do circuit design, and you can do coding online. You can ship kids stuff. So I don't know, to answer your question, it's kind of like there's so many solutions, but nothing will replace the real thing, you know?
I did like a virtual robotics program where they can code them to move, like, you know, certain distances to complete like an obstacle course when they're at home. But then when they're at school, they got to build the robot. So they'd come running to class, you know, because they got to use their hands. And the stuff at home was okay for them, but, you know, you can't beat the hands-on aspect of it.
Right.
Building.
So maybe we'll switch over to Pierre right there. We got this extra guest. What? Yeah. How did you? What kind of work do you do over there?
Do a lot of the manufacturing, getting into more design and fabrication, prototyping, but pretty much anything that Forrest does, save for, you know, sheet metal and upholstery, I can pretty much accomplish. So there's a good yin and yang there between Forrest and I.
When Pierre came in, he was kind of entry level apprentice, you know, understanding and skill set, and he went out of his way to pursue and educate himself. You did
basically like machine tool technology program here at the local junior college.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just started with like basic machining, and then it, you know, it was like 2 classes of CNC machining at the end. But it got my, you know, my feet wet, and then came here, and, you know, we obtained a CNC machine. You know, we work closely with a machinist here, you know, feeding off each other, learning stuff online, and really just taking it off from there.
So, yeah. I mean, this is a pretty amazing thing because it's all made in the USA. You're using automation, but also handwork, and you're answering the call for this subculture of people that collect these BMWs. It's pretty amazing.
Some of the products that we make, you know, we're learning now what is really profitable and smart to make, and some of it we make because it's kind of fun or challenging. So if we were doing nothing but machined parts per se, it might be a more efficient and smarter approach, but there may only be so much need for that, you know, and because I've kind of pursued, hey, learning how to do sheet metal, having an upholstery setup here, it's like, well, we could make that, we could do that. And another game changer for us was the thermoforming plastics machine. And I think that that's something that could translate thermoforming and sand casting. could really translate cool into a machine shop or a shop class that has a rudimentary wood shop capabilities, because the molds that we make for the thermoform machine, the plastics manufacturing, are all simple wood molds that are made by hand, hand tools, routers, and a little filler like Bondo, and the same with sand casting. Those are really manufacturing capabilities that not a lot of people nowadays want to figure out, and a lot of plastics are just they're injection molded, and making the tooling for injection molds is really expensive, and then you're farming it out to a place that does production work, whereas our thermoform machine is relatively small, and we can do it all in-house.
All right, so let's break down those two, because those are really interesting to me. The sand casting, I've never done that. I always thought that would be very interesting. So you're actually talking about melting the aluminum and pouring it into a mold?
So you pour it into a cavity in a sand, in a body of sand that has, the cavity has been made by the mold, and the mold or pattern, it's called the pattern, is removed, and the sand is held in place by the way the sand is bound, has binders in it, the type of consistency. And so the pattern is removed. The pattern is saved and kept. It's not a lost wax or anything. The pattern's reused hundreds, if not thousands of times. And the aluminum, the molten aluminum, is poured into the cavity where the pattern once was. So that shelf bracket that you're looking at there,
yeah,
I made completely from scratch. The whole outer section is all 1/4-inch wood that was just ripped down, glued together with some crazy glue, cyanoacrylite, sanded down, bondoed, and I made 2 of them back to back so it could split apart, and one side of the pattern is on one side of the board and the other side of the pattern is on the other side of the board. The center section with the little BMW roundel is something that I did that, Pierre drew it in CAD and then 3D printed it out of ABS plastic.
Good idea.
And then I glued and feathered in with Bondo into my wood pattern. So it's a composite of wood, Bondo, and 3D printed ABS plastic to make that pattern. And when you look at the finished product of an aluminum part that is this shelf bracket, it looks like a professionally manufactured thing. And to know what, how the sausage was made so simply, it blows people's minds. But in one day, you could bring someone in the shop and say, hey, what do you want to do? An aluminum casting? Here's a jigsaw. Here's a pencil. Here's a block of sandpaper. And they can produce something like that.
Yeah, we did that in high school. That was a thing that I did when I was in high school in shop class, in metal shop. We sandcasted a bunch of stuff.
And
that's cool.
Was the experience memorable?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You didn't use a 3D printer.
No.
Yeah.
No.
A little bit of cheating these days, that's all.
What they ended up doing, or what my shop teacher did, he had like just a bunch of like things, like just patterns. And like you could pick a pattern off the wall and just sandcast it. So I made like an old style solid aluminum revolver. Like I have this like just a cast revolver. Now you would never be able to make this in high school now.
Yeah.
But
liability for sure.
Yeah, but it was just a solid chunk of aluminum that we cast. And it was one of those things that he wouldn't cast the aluminum every week. He would wait a couple weeks and do it because it was a pain to get all the metal, melted and find the aluminum and go through all that steps. So like he would have just a bunch of castings and then he would cast them all. And then we'd get them back and we'd have to cut the sprues off and lightly sand and do all that. So that was a cool experience.
That process where you get to see it's very non-linear. You know, when you start out with a block of wood and you cut it and you sand it and you do stuff, it's that same block of wood by the time you get to the finished product. But in casting, it's all completely different because it's literally liquid that turns into a solid, which the experience of that, especially for someone that's never seen it in person, is really, really cool.
Now we did sand casting in college, but we used foam, and then you put the foam in the sand casting, and then you packed all the sand around it. You had the sprue attached, and then when it was casting day, you literally just poured the aluminum over the foam, and then it just dissolved the foam, and then it just made the product.
Similar to lost wax, where the pattern is lost in the process.
Yeah.
Now, so from my understanding, so just so I understand, you make a positive, right?
I can just go grab a mold.
And you make a positive out of, you can make it out of wood, you can make it out of Bondo, to smooth it. You could do 3D printed elements. Once you got your positive, then you put it into a box of sand, which has binders. Is that right?
You pack the sand around it, packing it into this wooden box, and the sand is a compound that has oils and stuff in it that keeps it together. So if you make a fist with the sand, it will show, it'll really hold up well. Yeah, Pierre went and grabbed one of the patterns.
Pierre's awesome. That's cool.
Finished part.
Whoa, look at this. That's an English wheel.
Yeah, here's one of these little English wheel sculptures. It's just a fun little project that I did.
That is awesome.
And it's
Does
got
it actually have the adjustment screw?
Yeah, I drilled that in there. That's a McMaster car part, just a little brass thumb screw.
That's great.
Threaded in. But
Don't tell me the wheel works.
Oh, no.
Okay.
You really could make it work.
You could if you built the whole, machine these little parts. This was a thing
awesome.
I sold as a gimmicky, like, hey, it's a fun thing I made. But the point being is that this is halved through the whole thing. So there's draft, and you could see one side has half of it. Yeah, I don't know if you can you can kind of turn it. But one side has half and the others. So I basically built, something that was cut down the center, and then I drilled holes through it to index it. When it was split apart, the holes ended up getting, I drilled them through the board, and then a peg, like a wooden peg, gets slipped through to index left and right so that it's centrically. So that you end up pulling the sand out, and you get a part that is aligned versus one on this side over here and over there. So
wow,
there's a bunch of little tricks to it. You could do a flat backed mold as well that has a flat back and just an element on one side in like a little emblem, or a lot of different things that are just flat. Even our we make these dead pedals that have ribs and the bottom is flat, and we cut a little bit of that off. But for something like this, it's a two-sided mold.
That's what we did. We just did a flat back.
Yeah, it's the most common. It's the easiest to do. It doesn't require a whole lot of indexing both sides. But those are a couple of the little first things I did as a sculptural piece.
So I've got a Pullmax at the school, which is super rare.
Unreal. Yeah, that's great.
I was super ambitious and excited about sheet metal work after seeing videos of Jesse James and Faye Butler.
Yeah.
And I convinced the school after we got a grant to buy some equipment, and it was right at the beginning of the craze. So we got it for nothing. We got it for $3,000 from an old sheet metal shop, and had it shipped across the country, and we still have it. Then we had to spend a couple of years getting it electricians to finally hook it up. But maybe we could talk about some designing some simple lessons for the kids. I mean, I show them, we do a little bit of jogging, and we do a little bit of shrinking and stuff like that. But it'd be great to pick your brain about that, you know?
So you have shrink dies?
We got
Thumbnail
shrink dies, we got shearing. We also have louver die.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't quite figured out how to use yet. We also have some something that'll do a bend.
Oh, tipping dies.
Yeah,
Or
and then we've also
jogging.
Yeah, we've also done we can make a nice bezel. We made we needed a almost like a bezel for a lens, but it was for something else.
Do you have Faye Butler's Polmax book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Bible. I mean,
okay.
You could just about learn to make the machine do anything you want with that book.
Yeah, he's the man. He's great. Did you ever study with him?
I did. I went out to Massachusetts and did 4 days out there with him. And then he has an apprentice guy that's worked under him for quite a few years who now is out there with him full time, Jeff Ryder. And he had a shop locally real close to us. And I worked with Jeff Ryder at Katati Speed Shop, a hot rod shop here for a couple years. And Jeff is a super talented craftsman. Faye Butler's website is a little goofy, but maybe his Instagram is good. Jeff Ryder's Instagram is pretty good. And he just recently started making furniture that
I saw that.
Pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, all of Faye's books are good, to learn sheet metal stuff. He just did a new series about, what's a new series about? Let's see if I got it.
Where's his books? Resources. Faye's Ultimate Library for sale. Books. Here we go. All right, yeah.
Yeah. The
Universal Sheet Metal book. Here we go.
The fender shaping book.
Yes. Yes, I have that one too. That is good. Books, the Fender one, number 1. Boom. There it is. Yeah, I should just make a Fender, and maybe kids will help me make a Fender this year. I don't have a power hammer, but it's okay. Doesn't matter.
No, you don't need it. We don't have a power hammer either. And I make all the sheet metal stuff that I do, fender flares and stuff, no power hammer.
Planishing hammer, though.
Planishing hammer, if there's 3 tools for doing sheet metal that you'd ever want to get, it would be a Polmax, a planishing hammer, and mechanical shrinker stretchers, which are really inexpensive. So they're almost just a throwaway. But the planishing hammer would be in concert with the Polmax machine. You can do just about anything.
I always thought it was really funny. He always had he does this thing, WWFD.
Yeah.
What would Faye do? And he's got this whole philosophy on the path of the craftsman.
Yeah.
Great stuff. It's actually a good website.
It really is. It's a little outdated, but I think that his theories on life are good, and he means well. He's definitely not for everyone, his teaching style and stuff, but it worked for me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I took the class.
Okay.
The seminar, the initial seminar.
Yeah.
And then we hung out a couple times. Yeah, he's deep.
Yeah.
Real deep, which
intense.
Is great. Yeah, it's great. I learned a lot from him. I would say a guy like him, if you're going to really focus and you have a product. I didn't have a product I was making. So I was a little bit, my career kind of, and the stuff I've been into, even though I'm a shop teacher, we didn't always do sheet metal. So I got into electric cars, so I focused on that for a bit. But I would say if you got a product and you're focused on it, he's going to take you to a new level, Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're a young guy who wants to be the best hot rod sheet metal shaper on the planet, then by all means, that's the right place to be.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because he's kind of like, he went to school to become a shop teacher, which is wild. Yeah, he was going to do it. And then he opened up his own shop. So then it kind of took off from there. All right. And then what was the other thing we were going to talk about was we did cast aluminum.
Thermoforming plastics.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Can you elaborate on that?
So the mold design of sand casting and thermoforming is very similar with the principle of draft. So
which product as an example?
All of my cup holders, speaker panels, those look pretty cool and dynamic. The underdash speaker panels.
Okay.
Yeah, the console, some of those parts are thermoformed. All of our gauge panels, we do console panels with gauges, but the speaker panels, yeah, that little gauge pod is a weird part. Okay, yeah, Pierre has a pattern. I can use this. So
it's so cool.
Yeah, this is a pattern or a mold, and it's layers of MDF, just basic, MDF wood. You can see in the cup holder itself, the layers of 3/4 MDF stacked up. And this is just routed, perfect circle router jig, routed out little bits of Bondo to kind of smooth in the stuff. And this part, this isn't a finished thing, is kind of trimmed. Yeah. So it comes fresh out of the machine like this, right? It has draft on every side, so 3 degrees of angle. Even where it looks straight up and down, like in the cup holders, if this was completely vertical, then it would not come out of the mold. You would destroy the thing taking it out. So when you look like this, it's got some draft there, it's got some draft here. And so you design it with draft, and then we take something like that, and then this ends up being the finished product. It's been routed and trimmed out. It has a 3D printed little bezel that has a step to it, and that retains the shift boot, which we sew out of leather. And then it gets trimmed in another jig, and it gets glued in reinforcement in the back, and has a radius to drop into the transmission tunnel real nice. And it ends up looking like a finished automotive part. Whereas if you look at the rough thing right off of the thermoform machine, it's just kind of a crude, thing with rough, weird edges. But by designing it with draft and figuring out that, but you can do something so simple. You could quite literally take a jigsaw or a bandsaw and cut out a shape, and then with a router table, you can get a bit that has a 3 degrees of draft built into it that rides on the bearing, and it'll put the draft in it for you, obviously upside down. And then you could take that part that now has a little, or you could just sand it in. It takes some time, but you could just sand it in and then put it on the vacuum table. For our machine, the table comes up with an air ram. And then there's a sheet of plastic that's clamped into the frame, and the oven rolls over the top. And in fact, maybe on our Instagram, there's like I don't know if you get to the stories where it shows like highlights to stories, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I can do that.
I know exactly what machine you're talking about.
Yeah, the plastic's heated. It starts to sink down. We have it all dialed the time, a little, temperature gun, figure out what the temp is. It starts to sag. It starts to smoke a little. And then it's the timing. You quickly pull the oven out, bring the table up, and open up the vacuum port. And it draws the vacuum down on the table and around the part. And it's instantaneous. You've made a part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another. Duke, did you do that at college at TCNJ? Yeah, it was that. He's talking about that same machine. We did that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what we used it for. It might have been those robots that we programmed in BASIC.
Maybe we had to just do something in materials and processes and it was tough. I mean, we used 2 3/4 inch pieces of stock, and then, like you said, you put the draft angle in, and and then we screwed it to the base, and it fit in there. And but I remember when we trimmed all them off, they were pretty flexible. So I understand putting in that support piece in the back to really stiffen that up.
Yeah, so much of it is like we take a part off of the machine and we're like, would you pay $100 for this? Does this look like a piece of crap or does it look like a car part? And then we come up with, hey, okay, well, let's change the texture a little bit, the color. Let's put a little trim bezel on it. Let's make it look like it honors the build quality of the rest of the car.
I think if you go to the website, there's like a video.
But that's like a split second of
yeah, but you can see it.
Yeah. Remember the video I sent you the link to?
The air dam video.
Yeah. Under videos on there.
Like FAQ.
Yeah, news and FAQs, and then there's a video link.
So how many parts do you actually vacuum form, that you make? Is it just the cup holders, or are you doing other things too?
Gauge panels. We make and sell a ton of those. Those have little gauge bezels that are canted and have a little radio, slot. We got maybe a half a dozen different versions of that.
Split second right there.
10 versions of that. Yeah, that's funny. It's a highly produced video that our buddy made, and this intro is so quick. But if you do slow it down in the very beginning, it shows the thermoform machine come up. Had we planned it a little better, we could have just fired the thing up. But there it is.
Oh.
And whoop, parts come up. And boom, sucks down on it. It happens that fast. That wasn't sped up. That's real time.
I got it.
Zoop. Yeah.
Yeah, it does happen fast.
What is the thickness of the plastic?
We primarily use 3/32. We found that 1/16 was not strong enough. And 1/8 inch was it didn't give us the detail we wanted in the molds. It was really soft in the corners and didn't really, suck down crisp. And 3/32 seems thin. If you do a big, deep draw, it will thin out the material. Like the bottom of our cup holders is almost paper thin. And that's why we back it with another, a piece to reinforce it.
Yeah, that's basically 0.09375. That's significant. I mean, it's not an eighth, but it's you don't want it to be an eighth. That's too thick.
Once you have all the shape to it, it gains so much strength. You'd be really surprised. The more shapes it has and ribs and details, it gains a lot of strength.
Wow, this is awesome. All right, I have Hey, does anybody here do thermoforming? You guys do it at all, the shop teachers?
I got at my old school, I got a machine, and it was right before I left, and then they never hooked it up. And then the problem was it needed 220.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't have that in my room, and it was a nightmare to try to figure that out. So it was more just like a dust collector.
Yeah, we did a bunch. Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Our senior campus ended up getting one down here. I think they had mixed success with it. They weren't too happy with the model that they bought, but it was what was available, the way they do it for our schools. I've only seen them in operation once, and it was similar to what this picture is, just something going in and it's sort of sucking down.
Yeah, we had one at our school too, and I just haven't found like a good project to do with the kids. So, and I haven't, it's been on the shelf for a while. Maybe I'll try to get it out maybe this year and come up with some new ideas.
They use it a lot in the props business. We use styrene and make like masks, face masks and stuff. And styrene's cheap and thermoform's really easy.
I did desk trays. I did like drawer trays.
Oh, yeah.
Rectangular trays, and that was that one. It was just something to hold pencils and things like that, but it's good enough for a project in college.
Oh, for sure. Remote control car bodies are all thermoformed, real thin material. Yeah,
perfect.
3D print a little car and then thermoform over it.
Oh, and we've done that too.
Yeah.
we figured out that, you know, the heat is not enough to fuse ABS together with an ABS element that is 3D printed. So you can 3D print, you know, obviously with draft and everything figured out, or without draft, and it could probably fuse together and, you know, and be stuck. But you can 3D print small elements, and you draw that plastic over the top, and it creates the shape. And then we reuse some little trim bezels that we've made out of 3D printed ABS.
This is great. This is a great idea. It's an RC car. What a good idea. I like that. Pierre coming in with the win.
Why do you guys use ABS over PLA?
For 3D prints?
Yeah.
Well, for our products that we're making for the automotive use, that's all ABS because it's black and it's grained and it withstands temperatures and moisture in the automotive environment. And then, like with this bezel that gets glued to the ABS part, it's made at ABS. So we have the machine set up with ABS, the correct tip for that, and we just run it through ABS. However, if we're doing like a prototype part, we just want to check fit or look, we'll run PLA because is it cheaper? And
it's cheaper. I run a bigger nozzle on the machine.
Yeah, it'll go faster.
PLA prints faster, whatever. Yeah. Less finicky. Like the bed's got to be hot for ABS. You got to put ABS slurry on the bed.
When we got our first 3D printer a number of years ago, we used ABS, but same thing. It was tough getting it off the bed, and it's
that initial curve of learning is a lot steeper.
Yeah. So now, just for school projects, simple projects for school, we use PLA. Comes off the bed a lot easier, and it's easier to work with.
Every single day that we come to work here and we're working on a new project or even developing a new process, because this started out a funky, empty barn. And we slowly have gained the tools, starting with just crude fabrication stuff. It was like, hey, we got a wood shop and we got a MIG welder and, you know, chop saws and different stuff. And then going, hey, I want to set up an upholstery zone, and now we'll get, you know, some sheet metal tools, and the CNC shop has more recently been developed. But every part of it, we don't have enough power. We're out here renting a trencher and digging 300 feet from the road and laying the tubing, the conduit ourselves, and pulling the wire and getting the phase converters and figuring it out and buying, you know, stuff at auction and realizing, it's 220, it's not 220, it's 3-phase, and we got to figure out a VFD to run it to get the RPMs correct and change out the motor. And every single thing we're doing is the hard way and the cheap do-it-yourself way.
That's great. That's a great inspiration. I mean, I like the story, how it kind of builds up, and you guys are highly creative. I got a question about the sheet metal. So let's do the sheet metal, and then I got a question about going from design to manufacturing, and why would you choose to build it yourself rather than farm it out? But we'll get to that. I wanted to cover the sheet metal a little. You got a great video here showing going from a flat sheet to, I guess, what do they call it? The chin or a chin spoiler?
Chin spoiler or air dam front spoiler. Yeah.
Okay. You want to kind of talk us through this just a little bit?
Yeah. Here I am talking. Okay, so those are patterns that are just MDF wood. I've developed that starting with cardboard on a car, and with the sweeps that are all like numbered large radius sweeps, and made cardboard mock-ups and test fit to cars to get that all perfect. So the wood pattern that I'm using there that I transfer to the sheet metal is already been figured out. It's a formula that I kind of know will work by trial and error. I might make a cardboard mock-up, transfer it to metal, bend one up, not like this or that, make marks. I mean, it might take 2 days to get a new developed air dam to fit a car perfect, where it's repeatable, and I'm really happy with shaping it.
Now, let me just say that the sweeps, what he's talking about, if people don't know, this is like a ship's curve in a way, right? Or is that, am I right about that?
It was designed, used in shipbuilding. The way a sweep works is it's a number system is 1/8 of an inch change over a distance, and the distance is like railroad ties or something totally
some cord length, something I can't
arbitrary
remember.
old school thing. The point being is that it's a true radius.
They are right there in the background.
Yeah, and those are just water jet cut out, and we use them for so many design elements. They, when you think about like a wood shop that has circles, hey, I made this router jig or whatever, your circles are this big. And then at some point you go to a straight edge, right? What's in between? There's so much in between. And every automotive surface, even if you look at something, you go, that's flat. Well, they don't make automotive panels flat, because if you did, you'd lean against them and they'd dent. So every automotive surface has a very subtle curve to it. And you might not be able to even see it with your eye until you put a straight edge across it and you go, oh, it raises up 4 feet out. It raises up 1/8 of an inch. Well, that's a number one sweep. So I hold these sweeps up to a car where I'm trying to make a part to fit perfect and go, oh, okay, this is a number 44. And then I mark where the 44 starts and where the 44 ends, and make a composite of these sweeps to determine the overall shape. And that turns into a cardboard template that gets transferred. This is all stuff that Faye Butler and those books and trial and error has taught me.
How many, just ballpark, just curiosity, how many different sweep numbers make up 1/2 of the front bumper or, chin?
That air dam uses probably 10 different sweeps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then there's tighter radius on the outer edge, like where it comes around tight on the outside, makes that corner. And then that goes into diameter sweeps where I go, oh, this is a 4-inch radius here.
Yeah, actual radius.
Yeah.
Got it.
And Faye sells little radius gauges that are for tighter radii as well.
Yeah, so let's see. Layout tools, I guess this would be.
Yep.
Here's the sweeps. There it is. And and Faye has these available, but you could also make them if you wanted to.
Yep. Yep. We basically figured out the drawings and, got them water jet cut out.
Nice. And then they have radius gauges. This is for tighter stuff. This works really well. Like, if you go up to let's say a motorcycle tank, and you put one of these radius gauges on there, it's hard to see. I'll zoom in a little. You could figure out which gauge it is, and then that'll give you what corresponding die is. It goes in your tool. Like either a Pullmax or I guess it would be for the planishing hammer, right?
It's impossible to accurately produce and reproduce a part if you don't have that. You're just absolutely guessing. So that's a pretty crucial element to pattern making and the whole sheet metal process.
It's great. He's got this kind of like, there's a method. He's got it down,
Yeah.
He's basically like a private shop that like every automotive design studio in the world probably would kill to take his class, Pretty cool.
And he's taught enough people that, have practical experience in the real world now that there is a younger generation of really talented sheet metal shapers out there. I, of which am not one. I'm, I know enough to have figured some stuff out, but I by no means would say that, I'm a metal shaper by trade.
We're all learning, Okay, so going back to this, sorry to be so detailed about it. I just think it's great what you're doing with these patterns. So now you come over here and you've got your pattern.
Transfer to a flat sheet of 063 aluminum. That's what they give, 060, 065, but it's 063. And then I rough cut it on a bandsaw, just a wood bandsaw with VFD, turned up as fast as it'll go. And then I double stick tape my template to it, and then push it through a router table with a trim bit, high speed carbide. I wax the thing so that it doesn't heat up, and then I deburr it here. Just clean the thing up. It's repeatable. So Polmax, that's a tipping die. It's got a fence on the back that allows for a radius. Yeah, backstop. So starts against the backstop, and then the tipping die just thins the metal right where I want the bend. So if you bent sheet metal in a leaf break or a finger break, you'd clamp it down and you'd lift the leaf and it would fold it up, but it only folds straight. This tool allows you to put a fold or a flange or a bend along a radius. So that tool is only 3/4 of an inch wide, and where it thins the material automatically will want to bend there once it's manipulated with the tool. So I'm pulling up a little bit on that piece of sheet metal. The die is thinning the edge, and it's allowing it to flange exactly that consistent. I think it's roughly 3/4 of an inch in to make that flange.
You know what I always thought was cool about the Polmax? It's kind of like if you wanted to make parts, but you don't have a stamping machine, and you don't have the demand of thousands of parts, you're not going to make a stamping machine. You want to make one part or 100 parts. This is how you could make stamp quality parts by hand. Is that a good way of saying it?
When I learned what that machine was capable of, I became completely obsessed with it. I live, eat, breathe Polmax. It was the coolest. Oh man, this thing does everything. It does the stuff. You can make the tools yourself. You can, and like Faye's Polmax book, it shows the most amazing stuff that you can do with it. So we use it at a very limited capacity. I do have some pretty cool tooling, much of which we've made here. But we've learned how to just set it up and go. We can tip with it. We can shrink with it. We can bead with it. We can install details with it. And it's super versatile. When people learn how it works, they're blown away because it's basically moving like a sewing machine, like the foot of a sewing machine. It's just barely moving. And it's like, how did that thing that has a reciprocation of, an 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch do so much? And it really is pretty radical.
Here's the one we have in the shop. It's from 1960, I don't know, 1 or 4 or something like that.
What model is it? Oh, it's a
I think it's a P6.
Okay. 3/4 inch tooling or 5/8 tooling?
3/4.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Here's the details on the date received, 1962. It came in on a steamship, and it was originally sold to the Clarkey company that made the floor shining machines.
Oh,
and
wild.
Yeah.
A lot of companies had them set up for single operations, where they were just shearing or punching or doing some kind of thing. Oh, we just have it to install these flanges or cut these circles or whatever. And the capabilities of them are not unlocked until, another user that is really, has the desire to figure the thing out.
Yeah. And like you could make these turns. I'm doing it free-handed, but I'm just showing people in case they don't know about the Polmax.
Yeah.
You can do these turns. You can mix and match what dies you want. You can make your own dies. I had to do this little offset thing, just like Faye.
Yeah.
But you can make your own center holder if you wanted to as well.
I have the same thing. I didn't have a center die, so I flipped it, and I have an offset.
Yeah. And these are the shrinker. Here's the shrinking dies. Shrinking, if anyone doesn't know, shrinking's like, can you imagine, in order to make a compound curve like a balloon,
you gotta get the right collet tool. What's going on with the vice grips?
Oh,
come on.
That's what I was wondering. What's he
You're
doing?
beating the collet up.
I was careful. I was careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
right.
have the spanner now? Do you have the right one?
Probably not.
Are those dies from Faye?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Those are great.
Yeah.
A lot of other people make shrink dies, and Faye's dies are really good.
I'll be honest. I went crazy with this when I first got it going, and I've been teaching 16 years. The last maybe 5 years, we haven't been dealing with this. But I want to get back to it. This is a good inspiration right here, And if there's a shop teacher close by, you guys want to come and try the machine, that's perfectly fine. Just give me a call. We'll come in and we'll do a demo. Maybe I think I ran it on a day I had an open house. That was a pretty cool, fun thing. Let's see. I'm just trying to give a quick overview of like what this is, because you know what it is, I know what it is, but not everybody has seen it in action. So it makes a bit of a tuck, and then you pull back down, and that's going to force it to be thicker. This is getting into the weeds, This is like a lot of detail right here. Anyway,
it can do a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back to this. I want to see your process of making the spoiler. Okay, so you're tipping it over.
Yep. Tip it. Then there's a couple little areas like the center there that gets a big bend in it. The flange now has to be shrunk on one side and stretched on the other. So I use the shrinking dies in that handheld Lancaster. That's a great tool. It's absolutely necessary if you're doing sheet metal. And then there, where I'm hitting it with a linear stretching hammer to stretch the flange. Now the hammer is much more accurate in stretching it than the Lancaster. This is my planishing hammer, just like Faye's. I built it to his specs. It's a Milwaukee that's probably 80 years old. And it allows me to pull that flange over and tune it to the exact angle to fit on the car. So I can't do all of that edge turning in the Pullmax. The planishing hammer does the rest of it. And that flange doesn't simply just go 90 degrees. It kind of takes this very subtle arc that requires a little bit of finesse to get to fit to the car.
I got to jump in here and say, I love that you have the nose of the car sitting there. That's amazing. You just go right up to it. Does it fit?
Yeah, and I wanted to have a car that I knew had original paint, had never been in an accident, had not been modified or repainted, because we're sending this stuff all over the world, all over Europe and Asia. And I did not want to get emails from someone that, hey, this thing doesn't fit my car. And I could say, we have verified that every part we make fits 2 different noses that are original paint, original cars that have not been, because as soon as a car gets repainted, goes to the body shop, has been rust repair, you don't know what you got. You got a bag of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're doing high quality stuff here, made in the USA. I love it. So now you're finishing it.
Yeah, this is a process that I've leaned heavily on Pierre to help me with, because, man, my arms are not what they used to be. There's a lot of hand finishing to be done where you're sanding out the shrink marks, you're tuning the edges, and it's a laborious task, because the end result, I want something that someone can quite literally install in the car and drive to a car show, and has a brushed finish that looks like it was made, stamped out in one shot like that.
How do you attach it to the car?
People have done different things, but what we found that works the best is, and I have a video that I made showing the process, but you clamp it, get it all dialed, and then drill through with a pilot bit, 1/8 inch. So the holes end up right into where you want after you've marked them. and then they get opened up, and then a threaded insert gets installed, a nutsert or riv nut. It expands and kind of crushes itself into the sheet metal so that you're not in there holding a nut and with a wrench and a thing, and then, oh, it fell behind the radiator. So that with one tool, you can install the thing. And then if you go, oh, my car broke down, and, you know, the tow truck driver is trying to put a strap under the thing, you can really quickly just pull those 6 screws, take the thing off, and it doesn't get damaged, and repeatable.
Now,
serviceable.
I know that I have a Ford Ranger, and I don't know how I did this research, but the little chin actually saves 1 mile per gallon. That's what they figured out, and that's why they put it on there. Does this help?
Brilliant.
Does this help with miles per gallon, or is this style, or what do you think?
There's a few different. That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
So to someone who's selling car parts that have a perceived value, I've been in the automotive aftermarket for many years, and what I can tell you is when you put a louder muffler on your car, you will believe your car is going faster. When you lower your car, you will believe your car is going faster. It's because the road is closer to you and you're seeing it coming at you at a higher rate. So the chin spoiler, whether it has aerodynamic value or not, it's been proven in racing to have aerodynamic value. We don't have a wind tunnel to test this stuff. But historically, when the cars that are going across the finish line and finishing on the podium, they have aerodynamic additions, and the chin spoiler is the first thing that they do. And you look at it from a theoretical standpoint of the air is hitting the tire, disturbing that air, loading it into the inner fender, and lifting the front of the car. The chin spoiler will allow that air to push down, creating downforce, and smoothly without being disturbed. And if you're into electric cars and hypermiling stuff, it's kind of a basic concept. Does that really translate on a wind tunnel, or in the real world? The jury's out.
It also looks just really good.
It looks beautiful. Yeah, I like it.
Ron, do you really think you're saving $1 a mile on your Ford?
No, maybe a dime.
Does it still
I have
look
to pay
beautiful?
extra. I have to buy high test fuel because it has detonation on. I got like 300,000 miles on my Ford Ranger. I only paid $1,000 for that car like 12 years ago anyway. So it's so funny.
Spoken like a true shop class teacher.
And Ranger driver.
Yeah.
Now, hey, I got a question. About the steering wheels that are in the background there.
Yeah.
Do you make all those also?
So we, much like the wheels that we started making, we're doing a 3-piece forged aluminum racing style wheel. The steering wheels, we started developing the process to produce. And so I have a collection of, I'll get this right now, sorry for the reach, vintage steering wheels that are like Italian made. This is a Nardi. It's a special one that is something that someone might pay, $800 for because of the heritage of it and the, historic significance. It's beautiful too. It's like mahogany grip, and it's got a really nice, these are all like an embossed grip to it, and polished spokes. We're looking at this and I'm going, I know how this is manufactured, and no one is making good, real wood and aluminum steering wheels anymore. They're making carbon fiber ones. They're making ones that are leather gripped and stuff. But we figured out we could laminate in a radial pattern and then router the shape to it, and then rabbet out the back to encapsulate the spoke that basically, I don't know if you can see this, but this is, what's the thickness of that stuff? It's 5/32. It's 3/16.
Yeah.
6160 aluminum, and basically with two pieces of wood profiled like this, with it rabbited out from the back, it can capture that. We're going to epoxy it together and then clear coat the wood and finish out the aluminum and have a really high quality, historically correct steering wheel. And it's a product that we're in development on, and that's why I got a collection of random steering wheels and then the ones that we're doing. But I've got so much time and money into making the actual wheels that the steering wheels have taken the back seat.
The reason why I ask is I'm actually into Model A's. So, and then if you look at the Model T's and a lot of the other brass era cars, a lot of them have wood steering wheels. A lot of them are finger jointed. A lot of them are either steam bent or fabricated through a segmented process.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody or very few people are recreating those.
Yeah.
And when I saw that they were in the background, I was like, I'm kind of curious, how is that being produced? And that was something that I thought about. Like, is that something that is there a high demand market for those brass era cars? For people that have that original steering wheel that want another original steering wheel. And so
possibly, and a part of it that you'd need to investigate is how particular are they about it being exactly original, and then you would want to reverse engineer how it was originally made. So if they're staring at the way it's jointed, the type of wood, the construction, if you can reproduce that would be great, and then figure out what are used perfect restored ones going for. And that's a lot of times, it's why we went into half the stuff we make. People go, I got these parts and I want $300 for it, $500 or whatever it was. I'm like, man, that thing looks like crap, and you want that much money for it. Well, and then there's new stuff that doesn't look right. That's like, okay, well, you could put that on, but it looks like you bought it at AutoZone or O'Reilly's, whatever you guys have out there.
Yeah. There's very few people that are making wooden steering wheels, So that's the other thing too, especially with the age gap of people that there's a lot of people that aren't into the Model Ts as they used to be, and the Model A's anymore, and nobody's supplying those parts, and there are people that are still into them.
It's exactly how we fell into what we're doing. The aftermarket was weak at best, and their passion for it. We were finding these guys selling, parts. They were selling fiberglass air dams, and they had a mold that they had bought from someone at an auction in 1980, and they just kept cranking them out. And friends of ours who were, hey, work on my car, they'd bring us here, install this. And I'd look at it and go, I'm going to have to grind that Bondo and deal with all this stuff to get this thing to fit. I could make another one for as long as it's going to take me to make this fit. And again, it's like a gap or a void in the market, and the people that want quality parts and are willing to pay, and you just find that and then jump in.
Yeah. It is interesting that there is that market out there. It's just some people don't know how to, enter it.
Yeah. I think it starts with passion. You start by just doing your own car, right? And then your friends' cars and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Ideally, you get somebody to pay you to do it on their car. But, yeah.
Now, so I got a segue here about design.
Yeah.
I found Pierre's Instagram, which led me to a link, and I see some drawings here.
Yeah.
Are these your drawings?
Those are my drawings. Yeah.
These are beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Not all craftsmen are also, pencil artists as well. Like this is well done.
I did a lot of drawing when I was young, and I had applied to and got into art college out here, and chose to not go to school because I wanted to work on cars. But I've never stopped drawing. I wish I had more time to do it because I really do enjoy it. But now I just draw the products that we're going to make. And the good thing about working with someone like Pierre and the other guy that is here in our machine shop, Jesse, super talented guy, amazing craftsman. And he can take a napkin sketch that I've done and transfer that. I'll give him a crude looking pencil drawing with a couple measurements, and then he can transfer it to CAD, and he and I can go over the minutia of the radii and the details of the stuff. We 3D print a part, we okay it, and those guys figure out the cam and the tooling and the work holding and produce a CNC machine part. It's a really cool process to see.
That's amazing. So you have you have drawings, hand craftsmanship, but you also have great personnel that you can work with, so you can get to your you can bring your vision to life. That's pretty good.
The formula has been pretty magical, and I couldn't imagine, it's a struggle when you only have one piece of that puzzle. But having these guys, on board, and I try to just not have an ego about it, and I try to make it be fun, and keep it light. If we're in here and it's I got to pay my mortgage, this customer's a jerk, it's just you might as well be doing something else. So I try to keep it fun, like skateboard park out front. We're try to drive the cars as much as we can, so we're actually out there keep staying in love with them. And the community too. We go to events, and when people are like, man, I put your parts on my car and they fit good and I love it, we love what you guys are doing. When I go back to work on Monday morning, I have purpose, and that part feels really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, this is a good transition. Let's say you have these ideas. There are a couple of routes you could go. You could say, okay, I have this idea. I'm going to put it in CAD the best I can, and then I'm going to farm it out. But you've chosen, maybe you've done some of that. I don't want to speak for you, but you've chosen to build it, prototype it in your in-house, make sure it works, and then figure out the manufacturing process as well. Maybe you could speak to that, because imagine you're a shop teacher and you're teaching kids to make prototypes, but then you're going from the prototype to the manufacturing, and it's all in-house. I'm not speaking for you, but it seems like that. But not everybody does this. Some people, they go straight to just trying to find a manufacturer, and they get quotes.
Yes. So I think that, and we approach it with a hybrid, a hybrid approach. We do have partners that we work with. I try to not just throw stuff at people. Here, make this thing, and let's see if it works and fits and is to my specifications. So we try to get as much of the stuff prototyped and figured out. But much like with the castings, if you look through our catalog, we have some stuff that is physically too large for us to cast in-house, these battery trays that are massive. And we might need a dozen of them a month. And I don't have the capacity to do it. We're all scrambling around doing a dozen other things. So we've aligned with a foundry, actually a guy that I found through Instagram, who's a fellow skateboarder. And he was like, "Oh man, you're doing castings in your shop, all hot rods and skateboards. That's really cool. My family owns this big foundry. All we do is aluminum. You should come down, and there's empty pools right by my house. We could skate." I went down there. We were like, "Hey, we should work together." I started sending him our patterns, the stuff that we knew worked. And then the price point of it, I can't even touch. It's insane. It's like I could spend all day trying to make 5 of these things, and he could make 50 of them. And so same thing with like some of our fabricated steel stuff. We make light brackets and tow hooks and things, and we were making them all in-house, and we have a little plasma cutter, all the stuff to set up the CNC plasma cutter and do it and to service it and to make it work and deburr all the parts. It was insane. We have a friend who's a steel fabricator. He does a lot of architectural stuff, and he's right down the road. He's also a fellow skateboarder, and he got I got this new plasma table, which I saw photos he sent me. It's 10 foot by 5 foot. I'm loading it with steel every day. And I said, "Hey, maybe you could make some of our stuff." He's making them, welding them, sending them to powder coat, and we work out, the quality control and the pricing and everything. And that stuff has worked out really good, but it's not without my close attention to fostering those relationships and not having unrealistic expectations by handing someone, a funky pencil drawing and going, "Here, make this thing amazing." So yeah, it works out well that way. Even like, I'm sure you guys have send drawings off to Send Cut Send.
Yeah, I use them a lot.
Stuff like that. It's great. If you send them the right drawing and you have it all figured out, they send back the right parts.
Yeah. I'm in development of a product that holds an engine, makes it easier for a shop teacher to teach small engines. And I've used Send Cut Send maybe 20 times already. And then we've tried to get some quotes for the bottom part, which is welded, like a welded frame. But the guy was taking a while to get back to me. We just started making our own jig here. We're doing that. So it keeps a close eye on it too. But I could see the balance there. Once this is dialed in, sure. Like if someone could give me a quote and it works, it's going to be much better than what I could do, because I'm not a manufacturer specialist. I just had an idea for how to make this thing, make it easier to teach small engines,
I think that, it's hard. Everybody's really busy right now in manufacturing and especially automotive aftermarket. And I just never want to be the guy who's like, "Where's my stuff? Well, I'm more important than everyone else," because I've dealt with those customers. And, for you guys being able to say, "Hey, there's a bunch of eager to learn kids that are really looking forward to getting these parts back. If you could please get them done by the end of the week," or whatever, kind of lean on their heartstrings. But it's real. It's also like, this is actually what's going on. And hopefully people want to jump in and help.
That's cool, man. This is amazing. I think this is a great example. I mean, this is like a great example for shop teachers and the students in the shop class. Here's, low volume manufacturing. I guess I'm using the generic term, low volume manufacturing, from concept in passion, serving a community of enthusiasts, through the prototype, which is what you learn in shop class, all the way up to by hand, all the way up to low volume manufacturing, maybe even using some suppliers. This is great. I mean, this is exactly what shop class is about. And I think that I think this is a great overview. I really appreciate you giving us the full story here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time on this show. As shop teachers, we're exposing the kids, to many different materials, fields. And we're never going to be experts in everything, but if we could, spark the attention of some students, to take what we taught them and take it further. And I think that's what we've done. That's the reason for us being around.
Gives you a reason to get up in the morning and feel like making a difference. What you just said really made me think about this, and it was a point that I thought about just last night after we said, hey, you want to come on the podcast? And I try to impress upon everyone that I talk with about this, where they go, how'd you get into this part of it or that part of it?
Oh, we lost him. It's funny. Just when he was going to tell us the key to the castle right there. All right. Sorry if you're watching this on your video there. That was like the exact.
Then you gotta choose your own ending.
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks.
It's like the end of the movie Swingers when he's like, it's so hard when you, and then he like gets interrupted. This is the perfect interruption ending. All right. Well, let me just text them real quick. I'll tell them. I think we're gonna wrap it up anyway. You guys want to add anything before I kill the recording?
No, just the ending. So I'm waiting to hear what he said.
I know. I don't know if he's coming back. Let me see. Hey, we lost you, but episode was great. If you could join, we're still here, period. But if not, no problem, period. That was really funny. He'll probably try and join back on. We'll wait a minute.
That's hysterical.
No, this is me. I thought he was back. These are cool things that he's doing. He also does a sewing machine. I guess they make the leather to wrap the parts for the panels.
His stuff is pretty unique, though. I like it. That brush look.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, he found like his niche.
Yeah. And he's got this cross beam, tower supports to make the car stiffer. But like, can you imagine? It's all detailed. So when someone goes to a car show, they're like, yeah, I got all these custom parts. They're handmade in the USA. It's cool. It's a good way of doing stuff.
His parts catch your eye too, just the style that he has.
Yeah. And clearly he's an artist, like that's a pretty cool thing.
And something, they're on BMWs. You can put them on any cars. Tim, that stuff that, the sand stamp stuff you can put on your car, really.
Mm-hmm. Cool. This is great. All right. Well, we'll kill it. We'll kill it there because I don't know if he's gonna make it. I bet his phone died. That's probably what happened. Yeah, that was awesome. All right. Well, all right. So I'll kill the recording. But thanks for watching the Shop Class Podcast. Next week we got Jay. He's one of the finalists for the Harbor Freight Tools for School. So let me just show you real quick. Harbor Freight Tools for School tools. We got a lot of people coming up. I started finally doing
Was he's a finalist in terms of he made it to the second round?
That I don't know. Did they already give out the second round notices?
Yeah, Bloomquist got one. So
okay.
Yeah, so he's in the second round, so I guess he's a finalist. And then, I think they have like 60 finalists or something, and then they'll end up picking, the 20 people they pick or whatever.
Where's the finalists? Is it here? Oh, here we go. No, this is not it. Oh, this is it. Right? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, we got one.
I got it in an email. I don't know if it's anywhere else.
Oh, you're a finalist as well?
No. They emailed everybody out, the list.
Oh, okay.
I didn't apply.
Got it. Okay.
I got it because I created an account, And then because I created the account, then I was able to see the finalists when they announced them.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is Jay Abitz, Freedom High School automotive instructor. Let me pull that up. Freedom High School. Dude.
What does he teach?
I got to plug in.
Automotive.
Oh, just automotive?
Yeah.
Is that Freedom, Pennsylvania?
Freedom Schools K-12. Oh, no, wait, this is not the right one. Anyway, it's Freedom High School automotive instructor. 920 is the area code. It's freedomschools.k12. All right, hold on, Jesus. Yeah, you know what I'll do? This is what I'll do. I'll send it directly to myself.
That would be cool to get Forrest in as like a guest speaker in one of those programs. You know, talk about aftermarket parts and custom making aftermarket parts.
On an automotive program.
Yeah, an automotive program. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be excellent.
I mean, I'd like to understand more about his, design ideas of going from, I know he talked about a little bit about going from a napkin to, CAD.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, here it is. This is next week's guest, Jay. Hard to see, but it was started by his father, Bob. Pretty cool. Staff.
Freedom area.
Here we go. This is him. There we go. Okay, this is Jay. Jay, I teach automotive collision repair. I started teaching at Freedom in the fall, taking over from his father, Bob, a bit. Can you imagine if your dad was the shop teacher and you took over? Wow, that's a tradition right there. That's what's going to happen to Timmy.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So anyway, yeah, this guy will be next week. And then I don't have anybody for the 25th, but on the 1st, we got a pretty cool situation going with a painter. It's hold on a second, I'll show you.
Like painter as in like artist painter, or painter as in like house painter?
Custom automotive paint from Hawaii. Island Custom Concepts. Right here. TJ. And what he does is he said that he trains people on how to paint. Wow, look at this stuff. Whoa.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What is that? Spoons? Holy schmoly.
Wow.
But yeah. So, oh my God, look at what is this? Like, crazy looking. How cool is that? So I guess it's not just paint. It's like metalwork as well. But yeah, he's stoked. Oh, here we go. He's stoked to come on the show. And he was recommended from the female welder we had on, Tiffany. So that was cool. All right, so yeah, that's what's going on. And after that, we don't have any more guests. So we got to get some more people. All right, I'm going to stop the recording right here. All right, thanks, Shop Class Podcast. See you guys.